Well, hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everybody joining us from different parts of the world. Thank you so much for joining us and for this one more session of Insights with Upgrad series. We have with us a very special guest today, and he's here to answer some of the questions you've asked us in the past. And we thought it makes absolute sense to have a whole 1 hour dedicated to it, to hear from the expert on the topic and to listen to your questions and answer them at length. So thank you so much for joining in, and let me know if you can see and hear me. Put a hi in the chat box. Okay, still a question. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Anushka. And thanks everybody for joining in. So 2 quick rules before we start the session and before I introduce the speaker for today. Just put in the Q&A box for any questions you have for Sai Charan to take up at the end of the session. For any in-between quizzes that you have or any audio video queries that you have, please use the chat box. So with that, that's just 2 easy rules. For the session, I am launching the poll to understand a little bit more about the years of experience that you have and the outcome you're expecting from today's session so that it can be made a lot more personalized to your needs. Okay, I hope you can see the live results, Sai.
Yeah, I can see it. Yep. So good, looks to be a good mix of people across different backgrounds.
We will, about 50% of you have voted, requesting all the others to very quickly punch in so that we get an overall understanding of all the participants. And so far, I think what is really coming as the major outcome, which is understanding whether they can build a career in machine learning. And so I think your deck is absolutely prepared to answer this question. So thank you all. We will definitely have these questions answered for you, and we also have Q&A for that. Okay, thank you. And with this, while the poll is slightly more in progress, we just get an overall understanding of what our audience looks like today, Sai, and introducing all of you to Sai, who is currently Senior Product Manager, Product Analytics at Teradata. And he is going to talk about steps to transition to a career in machine learning. Over to you, Sai.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nida. So hello everyone. Good evening and good morning, and also pretty late to good night, right? So let's get started with the plan, 5-step plan for mastering the ML career transitions. My name is Sai. As Medha mentioned, I'm a product manager for advanced analytics at a company called Teradata. We are building a platform where we can run machine learning algorithms within the database. So that's what we are looking at. So why is this session titled like this? Why is this called 5-step plan? Will everybody, if everybody follows this plan, are you going to make it to the ML career? Well, this is basically made completely based on my experience. These are the steps that help me when it comes to my career transition. So brief background, I was a L2 support person working with Bank of America for close to 5.5 years. And the way I was able to migrate to machine learning was through MBA program. But even during the MBA program, I worked on these 5 steps, right, which I'll explain throughout this next 1 hour as to how these steps actually help me make the transition. Right, and hopefully this will help majority of you who are looking for ML career transitions, and that's exactly what we're going to discuss. Right, so throughout the session, if you have any questions, as Medha mentioned, you can use the Q&A chat window, right, and we can definitely have a discussion. Okay, before moving forward, let us look at a simple example. Imagine this is you, right? You're asked to solve a problem. You are not given a lot of details about the problem. You actually used Stack Overflow. You did a lot of research. Google helped you out. And it took you 2 weeks before you could even start taking baby steps. And finally, after a month, you came up with a solution to your manager. And your manager says just one thing: can you do better? Did you guys ever come across this kind of scenario throughout your career so far? all the time, as Pralay rightly said, right? So Pralay said, yes. And what about others? Same thing. All of us might have been through this situation. Did we enjoy this? At least I never enjoyed this. Did you guys enjoy this? Is this an enjoyable situation to be in, day out, week in, week out? Not exactly, right? So this is exactly what the role of a data science person looks like in the ML space, right? And that is the reason why you need to figure out whether this is for you or not. If it is for you, in which space are you going to play, right? If you want to take up cricket, you need to decide whether you want to be a batsman, bowler, wicket keeper, or something else. There are so many other roles available in cricket, isn't it? Similarly, if you want to get into ML career transition, you want to do that successfully, you need to first understand what are the different ML roles. That is the first step that we're going to focus on. And the second step is something called portfolio. This is something that actually helped me make the career transition from my role in previous organization to ML. Right? We're going to see that. And then we're going to look at approach for cracking any data science interview. How do you tackle the interview, the scared data science interview scenario, right? And then we're going to look at what does it take to become successful before even you making the transition. So how should you build your profile? That's what we're going to see. And then finally, the one critical component. What is the one critical component that is going to be essential to your success? Right? Be it ML, be it any general career for that matter, what is that one thing that is going to define your success, right? And then we're going to have Q&A session at the end of it. So far, so good. Any questions before we get started? Agenda sounds clear? Cool. Now let's get started, right? This is the first step. What are the different roles present in data science field? Can you guys quickly maybe write down some of the roles that you've been hearing from different sources? What are the different types of ML roles that are available in machine learning space? Data scientist is one thing that comes to your mind, right? And anything else apart from data scientist, as Abhijit said, data analyst is one thing. Automation, that's another role that comes to mind, right? Data scientist is like the Superman. Everybody calls a person working in data science field as data scientist, right? That is not true to some extent. There are so many roles available in the data science field, right? But the first and most important part is there is a shortage of AI folks. This is a fact, right? Do you guys agree with this? Looking at the opportunities around you in your own company, if you take 5 people randomly in your network, how many of them would be in AI space? Is it a lot of people or is it very less number of people in the AI space? If you take 5 people around you, majority of them, would they be in AI ML space? At least in my network, that's not the case, right? Majority of the people that I work with are software developers, architects, business analysts, QA engineers, but not exactly ML guys, right? So there is a shortage in the sense there are a lot of roles available, but not enough talent available there, right? And that's exactly where Upgrad program comes in. That's the reason why I collaborated with Upgrad, right? So we are working on building a program that will help meet the demand. We generate supply that will meet the demand, right? Because it's a very generalistic field in the sense, in other roles, in other departments, maybe you should be, as long as you're good with one technology, you are good. As long as you're good with one tool, you are good, right? In the case of data science, machine learning, that is not the case. You need to be a jack of all trades, not master of one. Master of one is actually equal to master of none in the world of machine learning, right? So that's exactly why, as you can see, there is a huge shortage. You see the postings increasing, but the search, if you see, right, the number of people actually meeting the searches actually not being there, right? Job openings are rising faster than job seekers because the talent's still not there, right? Now, this is where this quotation from Michael Dell comes into the picture, founder of Dell Computers. Right? Those who understand data are the ones who master the future. So many of us are in a dilemma at this point of time with COVID coming in. Will the jobs be remaining the same? How is the job market shaping up? How safe is my job? Right? Understand that this has always been the case in the last, ever since Industrial Revolution. People who can make the data dance to their tune are also the ones who are going to always have a great career. Do you guys agree with this? Right? And I personally have seen this particular statement in the like coming to reality in a lot of different scenarios that I found myself. Right now, there's a question from Ramesh. How is the job market in 2021? I would say it is bouncing back, coming from 2020. Right, you see a lot more opportunities coming in. The salaries packages are skyrocketing, as you can see around you. Right, it's actually it will come back to normal maybe in a couple of months, but at this point of time, it's very hot. That's what I can say with the job market. Right now, how is it all related? Now, this is another question that majority of you might be having. You might have heard about jargon, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, data science, right? Natural language processing, NLP, computer vision, CV, reinforcement learning, RL, right? How all these things, how are they coming together, right? Remember that data science, right, is mostly about statistics, visualization techniques, mathematics, linear algebra, and exploratory data analysis. This is nothing but using visualizations and tools to analyze data, right? That is what data science is all about. Data science is nothing but it talks about the why aspect of it, right? Why is the data behaving the way it is? What is the root cause for this particular machine learning model predicting someone to be a fraudster, right? How is the machine learning model? How is my bank, right, blocking a particular transaction on my credit card? What is the reason behind that? Right? Understanding the why behind something is data science. That's what science is all about, isn't it? Newton was the only guy who asked this question, why is the apple falling down? And that led to discovery of gravity. Right? Same thing with data science. Here you focus on the why and you use statistics, maths, visualization to surface the answers. Right? Now, what is this? Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a superset, if you think of it. Right? Artificial intelligence, if you look at intelligence in general, in real world, right? For a human being, intelligence is not just about how quickly can you learn something. Intelligence is not just about how well can you play a game, right? It is not just about making decisions under uncertainty. It's a combination of things, isn't it? Right? So that's exactly what artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a combination, is a superset of everything that can be done by an artificial program. Right, like reinforcement learning, which is where self-driving cars come in. Machine learning algorithms, which is where anomaly detection comes in. Your bank and blocking a transaction on your credit card because it is suspicious, that is an application of machine learning. Right? And deep learning corresponds to image recognition. Your iPhone unlocking only when it recognizes your face. That is an example of computer vision. Right? Sentiment analysis. That's where NLP comes in. Right. So if I write a movie review, whether it is classified as positive or negative, NLP, right? Can I discover topics from news article? You see the tags that you see in Hindustan Times Hindu. When you're reading that online article, you see the tags at the bottom of a screen, right? That is nothing but topic modeling. That's where NLP comes in. Even the same thing with trending tweets, tweet hashtags, right? That is also an example of NLP, natural language processing. So NLP and computer vision, they correspond to the deep learning module, right? Whereas if you look at machine learning, artificial intelligence, as you can see, there's a superset, right? And data science is an intersection, right? Mostly it is focused on these four things, right? But it also, these things also kind of leverage some of the concepts of statistics, linear algebra, and others. Okay, so this is how the lay of land looks like. Is this clear? Any questions on this? This is very important because you need to understand this, right? Because in resumes, you see job descriptions particularly, right? People use all sorts of jargon. They say AI, machine learning, deep learning engineer, data science, mathematics, statistics expert, right? You should understand what they're looking at, right? And that is very important before you figure out which roles you should be looking at. Okay, any questions? So far, so good? Cool. Now, imagine now, what are the roles available? Now that you know, okay, what is it we are talking about? We have the context. Now, what are the roles that are available? So imagine your dream data science team. If you join an organization, how is the team going to look like? Right, like a dream team, American basketball team, right? You don't expect all the people to be the same, copies, virtual copies of each other, isn't it? You expect team to contain people from different backgrounds, diverse backgrounds. Right? Now, what are these diverse backgrounds? Okay. As you can see, I know nighttime in India, particularly, this is pizza time, right? With Swiggy, Zomato, all these things out there. So let us see how a nice pizza is cooked, right? A perfect pizza contains all different ingredients in the right mix, right? Same thing with respect to data science also. A good data science team contains these 5 roles predominantly. We'll see other roles also, but these are the 5 roles that you might find in every, if you look at LinkedIn job descriptions, Indeed.com, these are the roles that you typically find. Data engineer, decision maker, data analyst, machine learning engineer, and data scientist. Let us now dive deep into understanding what each of these ingredients are actually looking at, right? Data engineer, right? Any of you work on Hadoop in the audience here? Anybody who worked on big data technologies, database administrators? Any of you from that background? No one? Okay, so this is for those people who are already working with data. Ramesh is there. Awesome. ETL, right? From ETL, extract, transform, load, right? So the job of a data engineer is to get the data ready for analysis, right? So you are going to deal with problems like this. How do I build a pipeline that can handle 10,000 requests per minute? I am collecting data from sensors in mobile. My application is collecting data from sensors from mobile. Now, how do I store the data? How do I make the data accessible to machine learning models so that it can predict whether your phone, right, is behaving correctly or not? Is there an anomaly or not? Like cars, right? You have sensors coming in from cars and you are trying to figure out, is there something wrong with the car or not, right? And you as a data engineer is dealing with how to manage the data, how to organize the data, how do you set up that end-to-end pipeline? Right? You are responsible for engineering the end-to-end pipeline, right? And your problems are like this. A 50 GB data set won't fit in your computer's RAM. How do you build a distributed system, right? Where the data set is distributed across multiple nodes, right? That's going to be your problem. And your best friends when it comes to tools would be Spark, Hadoop, Hive, Kafka, right? And you need to have a really good understanding in the world of SQL. Let us say if these are words that you live with on a daily basis, like just what Ramesh said, then data engineer might be the role that fits your skill set, right? So this is a data engineer, and the salary that you see is US salary. I was unable to find actual Indian salary because there is just a lot of variance in Indian companies, right? So this is the data engineer role. And then comes the data analyst role. Now, any business analyst in the group? Anybody from business analyst background? Business analyst, or maybe just analyst, right? Shubhi is from business analyst background. So this is something related to business analyst. Now here, what are you working on? The problems, you're not worried about how you collect the data and all that. You are more worried about understanding the why aspect of it, right? Why is the data that was collected by the data engineer saying that there is something wrong with the phone? What might be the reason? Right? How can you explain to management in simple terms that this marketing campaign worked and this marketing campaign did not work? Right? Here, you should be good with visualization tools, right? As like Tableau, Excel, you should be good with them, Power BI, right? ClickView, and all these tools, you should be good with this because here you are more into storytelling, right? Just like what a business analyst does, gathering requirements, right? And this might be a good career transition path for you. Right, moving from business analyst to data analyst. Okay, now comes the hero of the day, data scientist. This guy is a Superman. Right, every company wants to hire a data scientist. Right, they call data scientists as somebody who can do everything, which is not true in real life. Right, and the concept of data scientist is that he's somebody who is going to build machine learning models. He's not only going to understand the why. He's also going to come up with a solution, right? Meaning business data analysts will say, okay, the data that is collected by the data engineer suggests that there is something wrong with the phone. It's just a hypothesis, right? Maybe something is wrong. Now the data scientist will actually build a model that will prove that whether the phone is working properly or not, right? A data scientist builds the end-to-end machine learning pipeline, starting with cleaning the data, exploring the data, figuring out which features are important, building the machine learning model, evaluating the machine learning model, and also explaining the machine learning model. Right? He will say why exactly, what reasons, what features led to that phone malfunction. That led to the phone not working properly. Right? So that's exactly what you are looking at when it comes to data scientists. Right? And you can see, can you build a model which predicts which products will sell to which users? Amazon does it. Right? Amazon's recommendations when you go to a product, right? It is a data scientist at work. He's collecting data from the data engineer. He's working with the data analyst to figure out which attributes of products should I be taking into consideration. Should I take price into consideration? Should I take category into consideration? Should I take probably the description of the product into consideration when I'm building a recommendation engine, right? So that's what a data scientist does, right? And that's the reason why majority of the companies, if they're not sure about which role to advertise, they will advertise, we need a data scientist. But as you can see, data scientist role is something, it's a more mature role, right? In the sense you are supposed to handle multiple aspects. In a startup, data scientist might be doing data engineering and data analyst work also. In a big company, data scientist works together with the data engineer and data analyst. Okay, does it make sense? We'll come to the decision maker a bit later, Manjunath. Right, so far so good. Are you guys clear about these three roles? Data engineer, data analyst, and data scientist. Any questions on this? Cool. Now comes the fourth guy. Probably the most important role, and I see a lot of future in this role. Anybody into DevOps in the group? DevOps, development, software engineering, purely software engineering, QA. Right? If you are in those roles, this is for you. Machine learning engineer. Now, what does a machine learning engineer do? A data scientist will just build a model, explain the model, how good the model is and all that. A machine learning engineer is going to integrate this model with the existing website or mobile app. Right? He is the person. So if you look at Siri, right? There are a lot of machine learning models running in the background when it comes to Siri or Google Assistant, right? But how are they integrated with your mobile phone? All that circuitry, how do you deploy it on your mobile phone, right? If you look at smart reply option in LinkedIn and Google, Gmail, right? How are you actually integrating that next word predictor model, which is a deep learning model built by these companies, into the UI of email and JavaScript? Right? That's exactly what a machine learning engineer does. Machine learning engineer is the person who takes the model sitting in the data scientist's laptop to the production environment. All the CI/CD pipelines, right? All those tools, Jenkins jobs and all that stuff. He's the person. Machine learning engineer is the person, right? And you might also know about this, right? 90% of the projects, data science projects across the globe, do not make it to production. 90% data science projects do not make it to production. Why? Why do you think that is the case? That's a terrible stat to hear. Very disheartening, isn't it? 90% of the projects where a lot of work is put in by all these people, data engineer, data analyst, data scientists, do not make it to the production environment. As Shubhi rightly said, integration issue, right? You build everything in Python, but your website, web application is based on Perl, C++, right? How are you going to integrate these two? Right? You built everything using deep learning models and all that, but then your customer expects the prediction to be made in 1 second. Your deep learning model is taking 15 seconds. Your SLAs are not going to be met, right? So majority of the projects, they die a silent, unknown death, purely because machine learning engineering is not done properly. So I see there is a lot of scope right now. As you can see, right, there are not a lot of machine learning products around us, isn't it? Apart from the ones provided by Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and others, you hardly see a lot of machine learning products in majority of the website that you go in. Just look at government website for that matter. Reason for this is integration, right? And that's exactly where a machine learning engineer comes to the rescue, right? Now, how do all these things, all these four roles come together, right? How do all these four roles come together? This is how everything comes together. If you try to understand it again using the pizza example, right? So if you want to make a really good pizza, you need to think about all these four components. Somebody has to decide what to make, what pizza to make, right? Which ingredients to use, okay, where to get the ingredients, how to customize the recipe, and the best way to serve it to your friends, right? Data science leader, a role that we're going to see in a couple of minutes, is the person who decides whether data science should really be implemented by the company or not. is that use case worth solving using machine learning or not? Because it's a costly decision, right? Data science leadership role is the one that is we're going to discuss that decides what to make. Which ingredients to use, collecting the data, right? Which features are important. That's what data analyst says. Data analyst says, okay, collect feature 1, feature 2, feature 3 from the data set. That's what a data analyst is, right? Where to get the ingredients? It's the job of data engineer. Data analyst says, okay, you get me data from all these tables. Now, how do I get this data from tables and send it to a warehouse? That's the role of data engineer, right? And then data scientist is a cook who actually customizes the recipe. And machine learning engineer goes and delivers this. How do you package this? What are the different toppings that I need to put in, right? What should be the price of this? How should I take it to the customer? This is so everything comes together. Okay, is this clear? Is this clear? Right? This is the data science leader that we are talking about. Now, data science leader role is for people who are already experienced, which I understand from the group here in the chat, already have 6 to 9 years experience. Let us say you don't want to do coding, programming and others, right? You are now more aligned with the business side of things, particularly people from consulting background, people from leadership positions, right? This is a role that comes in, particularly when it comes, because here you need to have experience of building data science solutions for real world problems. You need to tell them how everything will look like. What is the business justification? How much revenue will you be able to generate by implementing the data science solution, right? Do we really need machine learning to solve the business or not? How to evaluate whether this machine learning model makes sense or not, right? What are the metrics? Not just the model evaluation metrics like accuracy and others, but about revenue metrics, right? You are going to be closely aligned with the business, right? And you are going to work on these aspects. So this is where I fit in currently, right? I'm a data science product manager. So I don't really build models, but I work with the teams to build a data science product, a data science platform, right? This is where people from experienced background can actually get in. And this is a data science leader position, right? Apart from this, there are also some specialized roles, right? If you see specialized roles, meaning you'll also find these kind of roles across different companies, like NLP engineer, computer vision engineer, chatbot architects, right? You'll also see robotics research engineer, reinforcement learning engineer, perception engineer, right? So NLP engineer talks about text processing. LinkedIn is known for hiring NLP folks, right? Computer vision engineer, Apple, right? Particularly when it comes to analyzing the images, finding out similar faces and all that. Chatbot architects, building a chatbot, right? That's what websites like Fandango, Duolingo, these are all known for chatbot interactions. They have this kind of positions, right? Robotics research engineer, right? That's where all these vehicle companies come in, Lockheed Martin and others, right? Reinforcement learning engineer. Reinforcement learning is a special kind of learning, which is self-driving cars, if you think of it, or machine learning algorithm which learn by themselves, which is where Netflix comes in. Reinforcement learning powered search engine, right? And perception engineer, again, self-driving cars. That's where Tesla comes in, right? Now there's a question from Manjunath, is data science leader role same as decision maker role? Yes, that is correct, Manjunath. Right? The data science decision maker is nothing but data science leader. Right? These are more specialized roles, but as you can see, right, these are all part of data scientist positions, very specialized. Right? Here you focus on a particular area. So when you're looking for it, when you're preparing for it, initially you try to understand the lay of the land, everything that is there for what a data scientist does, and slowly you specialize. Right? That's how you get a chance to crack these roles. These are all company specific. Okay. And there are also other roles apart from this: statisticians, domain expert, reliability engineer, UX designer, data collection expert, data product manager, as I said, right? I fall under this particular category. Project program manager in the data science space. The easy way for you to transition is whatever is your current skill set, try to get into a product company which works on data in that space. The first step is very important. Once you make the first step, right, later on, you can develop that expertise required for you to become a data scientist, a machine learning engineer, or a data science leader. Right? When it comes to transitioning, taking a role that is very close to your skill set, right, is very important. Once you make that transition, then it becomes easy to scale up. Okay? Clear? Any questions on this? And this is how everything comes together. This is how you can actually probably remember this. If somebody asks you, a 5-year-old asks you, what are all these roles? You can use a pizza analogy and explain them. This is how everything comes together. Okay, this is the first step. Now, hopefully you guys are clear about, maybe you guys already made a choice, which role you want to pursue. Hopefully you guys are clear about that. Right? Now, what is the next step? You now decided on the role. The next step is making something called portfolio. So before that, let me take a question from Sandeep. For MBAs with coding experience, what are good roles to target if you're working in a non-IT field? I would say, Sandeep, go for something around a data scientist, I would say. Data scientist and data analyst. A data analyst might be good if you are not into coding, but you know basics of technology. If you are somebody who has coding background, probably target data scientist. Right? So data analyst for non-coders, data scientist for coders. That's how you can look at it. Right? For a fresher, now that's a good question from Ankita, right? For a fresher, I would say target data scientist, because data scientist is more generalized role, because you don't have any baggage, right? You don't have any past experience with respect to doing this, right? You're better off going for data scientist role, because data scientist is more of a generalist role. You get to experience all the different facets, and organizations will also appreciate you as somebody who is willing to learn a lot of things. Because as a fresher, you need to learn as many new things as possible, isn't it? Right? So target data scientist. Right? Okay. And there's a question from Shubhi. Is it possible to switch to machine learning directly from data analyst role? Yes, it is possible, Shubhi. Right? Once you become well equipped with the tools, because machine learning engineer role, right? It's very important to understand how the end website or the mobile application works. That is very important. You need to understand the basics of programming there, right? As long as you can demonstrate that experience, which we're going to see in a while. Now, how do you build that expertise? You should be able to switch. Okay. And difference between business analyst and data analyst. Business analyst is not expected to look at a lot of data. That's not his responsibility. Data analyst always works with data and always has to come up with the recommendations based on data. And as a business analyst, okay, even if you don't have data, that is fine. That's not your responsibility. The data analyst, you need to work on data. That's the main difference. Okay, and tools and skill sets required to become a machine learning engineer, right? So as you can see in this slide here, right? Right, if you look at machine learning engineer, you need to be well equipped with one programming language, at least Python, right? It's better if you also know Java. And then front-end technologies like JavaScript, HTML, CSS, you need to understand them. And background, like, because you're also going to get data from all these different technologies, right? Like SQL, you need to have good understanding of it. Queues, message queues, you need to understand basic understanding of that. And cache management, right? So as you can see, it's entire system design that you need to think of, right? People who have ambitions to become architects, this might be a very good role for you, because you'll be thinking of you'll be actually working on building an end-to-end system as a machine learning engineer, right? So that's how you can look at it. Okay, yeah. Now let us see how we can make the transition, because knowing the roles is the first step, but getting there is the most difficult step, right? That is where portfolio comes to your rescue. Now, what exactly is a portfolio? What is a portfolio? Portfolio is nothing but the collection of problems you have solved in your career so far. It's a collection of projects that you worked on. There's a question: can a data analyst become a machine learning engineer? How, if I'm a company, right? You need to convince me that you are ready to become a machine learning engineer. As a fresher, as Ankita was asking, right? How do you convince me that you're ready to become a data scientist? You can say, I went through XYZ certifications. You can say, I went through all these different colleges. Because when I was doing my MBA at ISB, people think, okay, you do MBA at ISB, you get a job, right? I was rejected by 100 companies at ISB. Imagine that. Even more than that for that, I don't even remember, right? Because I was looking for a data science role, machine learning role at that point of time. And I had on the resume some courses that I've taken at ISB and all that. But these people, they're looking for people who actually worked in the space. No company gives you a free ride, right? They are not here to educate you or empower you or help you. Everybody's looking for their own benefit, isn't it? Right? Now that's where portfolios come to your rescue. Right? A portfolio is nothing but it's a collection of problems that you have solved that show the potential employees that what you can do. Right? They will also be able to tell you how you get around that work experience requirement, right? So if Ankita is applying for any roles, data scientist roles, or for that matter, any role for that matter, right? Just because she's a fresher, there are so many companies out there, 95-96% of the companies who will just reject just because they're freshers. Now it's a chicken egg thing. They ask for experience, and you are saying, okay, how can I get experience if nobody is giving me experience, right? Portfolio is going to help you overcome that, right? And then 80% interviews, particularly in the data science field, in software field, software development field, and QA field, maybe they don't ask for this portfolio. They just look at your resume, and more or less it is done, right? For the data science person, data science field particularly, people do give importance to your portfolio. What kind of problems did you solve? That's the bottom line. Do you see problems around you as we speak? There are multiple problems around you, right? Something like right now, if you look at COVID itself, it's a huge problem. Now, how do you tackle? How do you identify people who have been vaccinated and not been vaccinated, right? Or you take something like whiteboarding, right? You guys might have already faced these issues in your company. Whatever software that they're using, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, and others, it's not easy to whiteboard, right? The experience that you had when you're working with people in a meeting where you can just go to the board and write down, that experience is not there, no matter which tool you take. That's a problem, right? On LinkedIn, on social media, Twitter, right? How can you automatically block violent speech, hate speech? Right now, it's not possible. They're still trying to figure it out, isn't it? So there are so many problems out there, so many problems out there. And the best thing with a data scientist or data for you, right? Be it a machine learning engineer, data analyst, is that you need not wait to join a company to work on the problem. You can start collecting data about that problem, and you can start working on figuring out a solution to the problem using the wide variety of content that is available on the internet, right? Even in the upgrade program, you'll get all the guidance that is necessary to work on your own problem and try to tackle it, right? You solve a problem so big, so good, right? That the interviewer is going to be fascinated by it and will try to learn as much as possible during that interview, right? So coming back to my story, 100 interviews, rejection. It's actually dejection at that point of time, right? So what helped me make the transition, crack my first role as a machine learning engineer? I worked on a product at ISB, right? So where we were looking at collecting movie reviews and automatically classifying them as positive and negative. We were collecting data from IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes automatically, right? We built machine learning models to classify them as positive and negative, right? And that was a product that we built at that point of time, right? And during the interview, a company was actually looking for a person with NLP background who can work on text data, right? In my entire interview, all the discussion was around that project. Nothing else mattered for them. They didn't really care about Bank of America experience. They didn't really care about what I learned at ISB. They only cared about what was that project, how did I evaluate the model, right? What was the impact of it? That's the only thing that matters, right? So that was my portfolio at that point of time. Okay, and that's how important portfolio is if you look at it, right? And this is how the interviewers actually deal with your portfolio, right? So your portfolio comes from these kind of questions, right? And as there was a question from Pralay, do we need personal website to showcase? Not necessary, Pralay. So there are sources like you can actually give your GitHub repository also. So there is something called GitHub that you guys might have heard about, right? So you can just compile all your solutions, all your projects in a nice GitHub repository and give a link to GitHub. We'll also see what are the other ways to create a portfolio. You can also start writing your own Medium blog, right? You can also start your own YouTube channel for that matter, right? There are a whole host of things that you can do to build your portfolio. You can do internships. You can do freelancing projects if you have time, right? There are a whole host of things to do in order to showcase that you know machine learning stuff, right? So this is because I can't overemphasize this. This is actually the key. This is a key step in my opinion. If you get this right, everything else will fall in place. If you don't have a portfolio, then the challenge is that getting the interview itself is a challenge, because if you are a fresher, nobody is going to take you seriously. If you are trying to make a career transition, they don't really, they cannot get the trust looking at your profile because you don't have anything correspond to machine learning there, right? So that's why getting this portfolio is so important. And how do you create an eye-catching data science portfolio? This is how you do it. There was a question, where do you get data sets, right? So there is something called Google dataset search. Right? Just try search for Google dataset search. It's actually a dataset search engine, right? Dedicated to datasets. Right? It is not something that is like Google search, right? It uses the same search algorithm, but it gives you all the datasets. Google dataset search is one website, right? Another website is data.world, right? So do not take popular datasets. So in your training program courses, you will come across certain popular datasets like Titanic dataset, Iris dataset, and all these datasets, right? Try to avoid these datasets as much as you can, right? And maintain diversity in your portfolio. Don't just do one project, right? If you can, do multiple projects. Complete a data cleaning project, complete a data storytelling project, right? Take up an end-to-end project. You can also participate in competitions in website called Kaggle. Right? Kaggle has a lot of competitions where a lot of companies actually post some of the toughest problems that they're solving on Kaggle, and they will give you financial reward if you tackle them, right? You can participate in those competitions as a group, and you can learn a lot from participating in those competitions. That's all this, if you can mention on your resume, if you can explain the problem that you're trying to solve, why it is such a huge problem, what was the impact of your solution, how many users, how can you tie the solution to business impact, how much revenue did it bring, how much user engagement did it increase, right? Those kind of points, if you can keep in your resume, then that's all the interviewer wants to know. That's all there is to know, right? And if you let us say you're applying for a role in Uber or applying for a role in Amazon, right? Because Amazon is so good with recommendation engine, maybe you have a recommendation engine project that you highlight on your resume. Because Uber is into time series forecasting, maybe you highlight time series forecasting on your resume, right? So you can customize your portfolio also depending on the companies that you're applying. Just like how it happened for me, that I highlighted NLP because the company was looking at NLP related information, right? So this is how you build a portfolio, and this is the second step. Okay, you have the portfolio, you made it to the interview. Now, what is the best way to tackle a data science interview, a machine learning interview, right? Typically, this is how interview happens. The interviewer asks something like, what was the biggest problem that you solved, right? And you say, okay, I built this model which had 99% accuracy in register regression, right? You are thinking pretty myopic. You're not looking at the big picture when you give answers like this, right? Because interviewer doesn't care whether your model is 99% accurate or 98% accurate, right? The interviewer cares more about, can you explain complex things in simple language? Why is this important? Ability to explain complex things in simple language. Why is this important? Do you think it is important? Storytelling, as Ankita rightly said, right? Is that an important skill in 2021? I would say it is. It has always been the most important skill, right? You guys observe people in senior positions in your organizations. What is the one thing that they're good at? Are they star coders, programming ninjas who are at the top? Who are the people at top? They are the ones who communicate well. They are the ones who talk in language that everybody can understand, isn't it? And that's exactly what storytelling is. Because if you know the concept end to end, you will not explain that using jargon. You will actually simplify it so that even a 5-year-old, 6-year-old can understand, right? And machine learning is one such area, right? Where there's a lot of jargon, lot of math, lot of statistical terms, right? Hundreds of years of ancient terminology that you get to use. It's very easy to get lost in that. So when you are interviewing, try to keep things simple. See if you can explain this to your grandma, if she will understand or not. Take examples. And these examples come from your projects, the experiences that you had. Explain the how and why. Right? Focus on that aspect. Even if you don't know the specifics of a concept, that is totally fine. You just explain how it is used and why it is used. Right? And try to customize your portfolio so that, as I told you already, based on the interviewer, you should be able to heat it up. Rather than the interviewer leading the discussion, leading the interview, you should be leading the interview. Because you have the portfolio, whatever question he asks, like Uber is asking, you can always go back and say, okay, this is a time series data set that I worked on. This was a problem that I faced at that point of time. The question you asked is similar to this particular scenario I found myself in a couple of months back, right? So that's how you lead the interview. And that's it. Because ultimately at the end of the interviewer should remember you, even after 2-3 hours, because he interviews so many people, right? That's how you make an impression with the interviewer, by differentiating yourself from everybody else, right? So this is how you actually prepare for interview. And these are the different interview questions, interview areas that you need to focus on, right? You have case type of questions, statistics, algorithms, and technology related questions, right? I've just categorized some sample questions based on N stands for novice. What kind of questions you will get? Expert, people with experience in that field. What kind of questions they get, right? If you look at the first question, article recommendation engine, how do you build something like that from scratch, right? That's a product related question. And then if you look at for experienced folks, how does Google Maps fight fraud, right? So this is where you expect the person who is sitting for the interview to not only understand data, machine learning algorithms, also understand how products are using it to solve real world problems, right? So that's what product case discussion talks about. Statistics, simple jargon, type 1, type 2 errors with examples, novice gets it. Experienced person, how can you tell me whether a coin inside my pocket, whether it's a biased coin or not a biased coin? Biased means Sholay coin, the coin that Amitabh Bachchan uses in Sholay, both sides heads, right? How can you tell that this coin is a biased coin or a fair coin, right? So that's exactly what the expert question will be looking at, applying statistics in real world, right? With respect to algorithms, again, basic theoretical stuff will be put in for the novice folks. For experienced folks, it will be more about, can you customize an algorithm, distributed version of k-means clustering algorithm, right? How to prepare for interviews, any websites? So there's a question from Pralay, right? So there is a good website that I can suggest, which is Interview Query. That's a good website that you can find. There are also other websites, but it's again bits and pieces. Analytics Vijay is another good website that you can target. It has very good content. And Upgrad themselves also have a lot of good content with respect to preparation for interviews. You can pretty much do it. But technology-wise, again, this particular thing is also important because you cannot be a data person without really accessing technology, isn't it? That's what tools to use. What is the major difference between SQL databases, NoSQL databases? What's the main concept? How do you tackle NLP data? How do you tackle image data? What are the challenges when you are tackling them? Right? These are the kind of questions that you get typically as an interview. Right? Step 4. All this is fine. You know about this. You are all energized at 10:50 on a Wednesday night. And how do you get started? Right? How do you take those baby steps, as we call them? Right? First thing is you need to get into that realm of data. Right? By that, what I mean is generally they say you're an average of 5 people you hang out with. Right? You need to increase your average. Right now, maybe you're hanging out only with people pertaining to your background, right? Be it a software engineer, a consulting person, a developer for that matter, right? An architect. So you need to get into that space where you can understand what is happening with the data science field, research papers, become part of data science communities, product groups, be active on LinkedIn, Twitter, right? Not on Facebook. I don't see a lot of traction on Facebook, but LinkedIn and Twitter, definitely LinkedIn. A lot of good stuff is being discussed there, right? And then share your knowledge, because the best way to learn is by teaching, is by sharing, right? Share your knowledge by posting consistently about what you learned from this article, what you learned from this course, right? When you're going through the upgrade course, maybe frequently share your learnings as to what were the new insights that you got from the professors at upgrade in the first week of your journey. Right? So this way, what happens is you will have questions, you'll have engagement from other people in your network, and you'll start answering those questions. And that way, your knowledge is going to improve by leaps and bounds in a short period of time. Right? Because the best way to learn, as I told you, is by interacting, by sharing. Right? That's exactly what you can do. And the third thing that you can also look at is, as I told you, explore teaching opportunities, mentoring opportunities. Right? So give it back, whatever that you are learning. Right? And that's another way to showcase that, okay, you are ready for this role, right? Trust me, this thing always works. Whenever you are trying to teach someone, the clarity that you get in your own understanding of the concept just improves by leaps and bounds, right? So this is how you demonstrate your skills. Try creating that portfolio and make sure that during the interview, right, all your concepts are clear. Okay, now the final step. What is that one thing that defines your success or failure in the machine learning world? What do you guys think this is? Is this going to be hard work? Is this going to be smart work? Is this going to be some tool, some technology? What do you think this step going to be? Any guesses? Continuous effort. Okay, that's a nice guess. Correct. Willpower. That's also a strong guess. Ability to learn and apply. Let's see. Do you know who this person is? What is so special about this person? Any guesses who this person is? You guys might have seen him, or at least the painting drawn by this person. I gave you the clue. As Gurudatta rightly said, Da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci. What is he so special about? All these things. What is he known for? He's known for Mona Lisa. Is he known only for Mona Lisa? No. He's known for inventions in human anatomy, operations, surgical procedures, open heart surgeries and all that stuff. He's also somebody who's known for astronomy, cartography, literature, architecture, science, invention, painting, sculpting. You name it, he has it. What do you think? How many years did he live? Did he live 300 years? 40 to 50 years, that's it. But how did he become good at so many things? How did he become good at multitasking, as Gurudatta said? What do you think is his superpower? His superpower is curiosity. If you are curious, everything else will fall in place. Time management is going to happen automatically, right? You guys might think, okay, if I learn all this, my family is not going to forgive me, right? That's a fair assumption. But if you go back to your time as a kid, you are not putting any boundaries around what you want to learn. You pretty much want to learn everything, isn't it? Right? And for a data scientist, it is important in the current space that we are living in, 2021, with all the uncertainty that the future years are going to bring in, right? You as a data scientist cannot say, or any person for that matter, machine learning engineer, data analyst, right? You cannot say, okay, I'll only learn this part. I'll only focus on this tool. I'll only focus on that aspect, right? You have to be open enough. And don't think of these as a burden, in which case you'll never learn any of these things. Think of them as an opportunity to expand your horizon. It's very easy to say this, very hard to implement. It takes a lot of persuasion to actually follow with this. Because every day we have our own work-related pressures and all that, right? But the important aspect is, as long as you're making improvement every day, even if it's very small, even if it's just one step, one tiny baby step, that is still improvement, right? And that's exactly what Da Vinci says, that he was curious with about all these things. So that's the reason why he always made time somehow to dedicate at least some point of time to master one of these fields, right? And that's exactly what is very important for you as a data scientist, right? Skill mapping. If you're looking at which skills should I be progressing now after this session, if you are somebody who is well versed with programming languages, you can look at Python, getting into the machine learning space. If you're somebody who's good with SQL, Oracle, you can focus on Spark, as we already discussed, right? If you're good with algorithm development, machine learning, next machine learning algorithms would be your next step, right? If you're good with communication skills, maybe you should explore roles in the data consulting space, right? If you're good with project management, maybe explore product management, work in a product company, right? Client interactions, go into data science contracts, domain experience, get into data science project execution. Right, so this is how you can take your current skill set and map it to something in the machine learning world. Right, so this is how you can actually look at it. And then the future I see would be a full stack data scientist, meaning right now we have 4 roles coming in for data scientist. Right, in the coming 5 years, 6 years, I see all of them merging, where, as I just told you, right, everybody is going to expect a Leonardo da Vinci. I know it's not possible, but that's how technology is going to evolve in the coming years, so that you get to solve even bigger problems with even more nuanced tools coming in. So it pays, literally it pays to be good at all these things. And again, start slow and try to expand your horizons, be open to all these different technologies, and try to become a full stack data scientist, where you're not limited by technology, where you're not limited by concepts. Right, so that's where I see this particular role headed. Okay, to summarize, so what did we learn? We looked at different machine learning roles, importance of portfolio. How do you prepare for a data science interview? Keep it simple, focus on how and why. How do you become somebody from whom people can learn, share, demonstrate your skills? And finally, be curious. Right? So there's the 5 steps that actually, if somebody had told me these 5 steps when I was applying for all those roles at ISB, I would not have been rejected by 100 companies. I would have thought probably converted maybe by 6th or 7th company at that point of time. Right? So this is what I learned. This is based on my experience. Okay, any questions?
Thank you so much, Sai, for this. And I mean, all the 5 steps that you've highlighted and the way you've summarized it was really amazing. And to all of those attending this today, I mean, on behalf of all of them, a big thank you to you for
Sure.
summarizing all the entire journey you've faced and making it so simple for people to learn from and take their learnings ahead after this. So before I begin any question, what you saw today is sort of an example of what Upgrad's one-to-one mentorship session also looks like, or small group coaching sessions look like. They, I mean, we have experts like Sai Charan who come and tell you all of this in much more detail as well, and a lot more personalized to where you are in your learning journey and in your career transitioning journey. Once you enroll for our programs, Upgrad has programs across data science, machine learning, technology, product management, MBA, and digital marketing. And we've got really different types of programs as well. We've got certifications, executive programs, and masters, which you can feel free to choose from as per your need, how much you want to go into the depth of certain programs and what is the outcome you're looking at. So that is about Upgrad, and we currently have about, I think we've impacted about 5 million professionals across the world, and we have enrolled learners from 85 plus countries. So that definitely ensures you get the right peers to learn with. And in this entire journey, you don't just have technology or a technical learning experience, but you also have it infused with a lot of soft skill development. And I do remember, Sai, when you mentioned the point that, okay, who are these star coders, etc., right, who are able to articulate their points in a way that anybody can understand, people from the business team, people from other teams who do not have technical backgrounds. So all of what Sai mentioned is also incorporated in our programs, where you have soft skill learning sessions, where you have mock interviews, where you have one-to-one career guidance from industry experts. So all of that makes the program really special and something that really stands out and helps you in your career transition. So that was about Upgrad. Sai, there's one question from Ankita: where can we get projects? I think you mentioned this. You mentioned about 20 minutes into the session. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm just again typing it in the chat so that you can also get the URLs for this. Right. So yeah, these are the ones that you can actually look. Google is a friend. Yeah.
That's great. So that's Kaggle, Data World, and Google Dataset Search. So all of these are open source platforms for you guys to look at. Great. Cyril is asking, is blockchain a part of data science? Cyril, blockchain usually falls under software development. But it's so evolving that it's really difficult to put it under one piece. And I mean, Sai, you can help me with this.
Right. So blockchain is more about, even though it is dealing with data, it doesn't really fall under data science field. There's a lot of scope for machine learning statistics being applied on blockchain, but it has more to do with how you maintain that integrity and all that using that special technology blockchain, right, than with data science. So I would say, as Medha said, it's more of a technology thing rather than a data science specific one.
Great. Moving on to the next one. We have one from, okay, all right, I think that was answered. There was a thank you. There's one in chat I can see, which is on Abhijit. Like Abhijit is asking, how is automated machine learning shaping up, and will it change the future of machine learning industry?
Right. So automated ML has been there for the last ever since 2017, I believe. Auto ML is something that is fast picking up. But based on my experience working on real world problems, right? No matter how much auto ML is there, still the fundamental questions like why is this model behaving the way it is, and why exactly how exactly can I trust this model? How to improve this model? That part AutoML is still unable to solve, because as a human you still need to figure out like figuring out what data is relevant and how should you explore the data, what kind of algorithms are working, and explaining it, right? Explanation is something that AutoML has not been able to do, and I really doubt if it can do in the future also, because no robot ever explained why it has made a certain decision, even in movies for that matter, sci-fi movies, right? It just does takes an action. So humans will still be needed when it comes to explaining that AutoML models. So I would say it is going to remove that mundane tasks from a data scientist so that you can focus on put more focus on explaining the models and improving the models. So that's how I would say it will shape the future.
Great. Thank you for that. I'm just cognizant of the time, just for all those who have attended the session till the end. Just help us understand your feedback today's session. And I'm sorry if you can stay for another minute. I think we have one more question to answer, but I'd like to take feedback from all of you. Do visit upgrad.com for any courses that you'd like to explore with us, and write to us at admissions@upgrad.com if there was any question that was unanswered, or if you'd like to have you know more about any of our programs. And do keep attending such interesting sessions with amazing industry experts, because that really helps you gain a deep industry insight. All right. Aisha is asking, I'm a beginner, how can I learn data science? Aisha, you can definitely have a look at the previous session that we just conducted on, which was about data science. And I think Sai also just mentioned a few places where you can actually look at projects. And definitely there are courses like UpGrad, which help you understand from the basics, right? You don't really have to go searching things out for yourself in this entire ocean of information. So that'll be my 2 cents there. All right, Syed has asked me if he can ask his question to you by unmuting him. Let me just try doing that. Okay, Syed, you can go now.
Thank you, Medha. Thank you, Sai, for the excellent overview. So I'm making it very short. Okay, so basically, I have about 10 years of sales experience in a shipping company, right? The way things are going in our industry is like our company is going much ahead in terms of like digital thing, data scientists, data analysis and Scrum kind of things, right? So a lot of jobs are becoming obsolete. The traditional jobs are going away, right? So basically, I want to keep myself up to date, so that I can be in the industry, I can be in the company or in the industry for the next 10 years. Okay, so that is the reason why I'm thinking like I should learn something, I should upgrade myself to not to become obsolete in my company or in the job field as well, right? So I'm basically a non-technical guy. I'm a BSc chemistry guy. I don't have any kind of coding knowledge or things, but I'm willing to learn. I'm searching a lot of things in net, and then I'm trying to learn a lot of stuff. So even if I start now, I'm happy to learn it. But I'm a little confused between this data science, because a lot of news going around the data science, right? There are a lot of demands are there. It's going to be a future, and machine learning as well, right? So basically, but at this age, I'm about 35, 36, right? And I spend like another 1 or 2 year in terms of reading, right? Learning the things, right? So how will my career look like? What should I do, to my company have a lot of openings for data scientists and a lot of other, because they're promoting a lot of things in digital. So what is your suggestion? What is the next step should I take? Because I tried to do digital marketing in some other company, some other institute, but I just learned it, that's all. I could not apply it. So So how do I apply it? What is the right course for me, and how do I apply it? How can I make it in a successful way? Yeah, that's my question. Thanks, Mehta. Thanks, Sharan, for giving the opportunity.
Cool, cool. Yeah, that's a fair question, because this is something that bothers everybody, right? So if you look at the future, particularly the starting step, you learn all these courses, you projects and everything is fine, but ultimately when it comes to applying it, there's always a challenge. There's only so much time that you can spend. So what I would suggest, Syed, is first focus on automation in your current role, right? So there should be some tasks in your daily day-to-day work, maybe out of all the 30, 40 activities that you do in your current role, there might be some activities that can be automated, right? You start with automation, start small, try to see what impact it has, and try to project this automation project that you did to highlight the impact of it, and try to showcase that to the management so that you get the buy-in for that, and then try to then apply the machine learning concept that you actually know, right, to take the automation to the next step. Because if you look at machine learning, it is nothing but advanced automation. And automation, by putting in if and then conditions, is what we typically think of automation. Machine learning is nothing but it itself will come up with what are the if and then conditions. An example that I can think of, right, when it comes to shipping industry and all that, you can pretty much keep track of, let us say you have a lot of data and you're making certain predictions, right? Initially, you just analyze the data and maybe make some, build a small app or tool, right? A small website or small tool for that matter, right? That can predict, make the predictions about the inventory, something like that, right? Now, after using machine learning, you can make better predictions maybe in the future, right? So you start small with automation, show there's quick wins for the management, and try to then what happens now that you have a problem to solve. Everything else that you're going to learn will automatically fall in place. You will automatically do research to figure out which machine learning algorithms are good at inventory prediction, right? Then you will all automatically look at what are the other use cases that the industry is using for inventory planning, right? So pick one use case that is close to your current role and try to start working on it. And do not worry about knowing everything, learning everything in a particular time period. Right? Try to see if you can solve this problem in a limited time period, and whatever that you can learn to solve it, that will automatically help you and improve that AI quotient as such. And that's what I would suggest.
Thank you so much. So that's Syed, I hope that answered your question. And thank you everybody for asking all your wonderful questions, and thank you, Sai, for amazingly answering each one of them, and for the little snippets that you kept in during the session, which kept everybody quite engaged. So thank you for that. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day, a good evening, and look forward to having you over for another session.